computer. Hi, Anna.
Hello, Pino.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's
Very,
fantastic to be here.
yes, awesome. Thanks for chatting with me. Today we're going to talk about the candidate experience and how critical it is for any organization. So we're going to dive into that this topic today. But before we do that, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and your background?
Sure thing. My name's Anna Bryla, and I have over a decade of experience in talent acquisition, both on the agency front and as a company recruiter. And I've experience in both temporary and permanent staffing. Anything from operations, supply chain, HR, marketing, sales, IT, I've done it all. And so in my most recent role, I was a senior talent acquisition consultant for Cargill in Canada.
Yep,
So I was impacted by the recent layoff at Cargill, and now I find myself as a candidate.
yep,
And so kind of in a candidate's shoes.
yep,
It's a little different, but
yep,
I'm a strong believer that everything happens for a reason, and it's
yep.
allowed me to be on this podcast today.
Awesome, perfect. Okay. First of all, how many years of recruitment experience do you have?
So I'd say in and around 10
Okay.
plus as an HR generalist, I did some recruitment as well
Okay,
in that time.
how did how did you fall into recruitment? I'm always curious to know how people fall into recruitment. Tell me
I
how
tried
what
a
your
little
journey
bit
started.
of everything, Pino. Like,
Yeah,
you don't, for me, it was like, okay, am I interested in labor relations? Am I interested in employee relations?
yeah,
Tried that and
yeah,
it was okay, right?
yeah,
It's really where I tell this to candidates, like I can tell you get your energy from that,
yeah,
right? And so when I started to feel energy drained, I'm like, oh, I'm not sure that this is for me. This part of
yeah,
HR is for me.
yeah,
And talent acquisition is its own part of HR,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
so you either love it or you don't.
yeah.
I like, I love it, right? It's
Okay,
just what makes me tick.
yeah,
And I found that, because I love it,
yeah,
I'm able to provide a positive candidate experience
yeah.
and deliver for my hiring managers. And they feel it too. They feel the passion that I pour into my role.
And you can tell, Anna, like we talked yesterday, you're so passionate about talent acquisition and recruitment, which is great. Okay. Here, let me start firing some questions your way. First of all, we're gonna talk about the Canning experience, but in your opinion, what exactly, when we say Canning experience, what does that even mean? What do you mean? What does that term mean?
So that's a huge topic, but like to synthesize it, really for me, what a candidate experience is, those are the touch points that a candidate has with a company, right?
Okay.
And it's going to start before the actual candidate applies to a role. It's going to
Okay.
start with maybe, I don't know, if it's a beverage company that you have, what's the taste of your beverage? How does that make them feel, right?
Yeah.
If it's a retailer and they've been in your stores, like how does that make them feel and that experience that they've had? So I'd say that on top of the fact that any kind of community events or job fairs maybe that a company's been at and reps have actually talked to them at.
Okay.
Um, and so those touch points will lead a candidate to kind of look at a company website, bring people to that website. And it's really the brand recognition and identifying with that brand that's super important.
Okay.
And so it's believing in a vision and the mission of that company. And then how easy it is for that candidate then to kind of get to that careers page, to be able to kind of identify the career that is best suited for them at your organization.
Okay.
So I don't know, you've experienced this, but I know I have in this
Yeah.
seat as a
Yeah.
candidate.
Yeah.
So you get onto a company website and then you're scrolling, you're like, where's the career section?
Yeah.
Right? So it really needs to be front and center, and
Yeah.
it really needs to be easy to get there. Then you get to the application portion of it. So if you're
Mhm.
applying to a position and it's super tedious to actually get your application into that company portal, it's maybe it's fiddly, there's things that the candidate is experiencing. I think that's important for companies to know. Half of the battle is getting to the portal.
Yeah.
And then basically, they've got their resume, they've got their cover letter there. So
Yeah.
it's about really kind of, allowing easy access to be able to kind of have that candidate input their information in there and have them into that funnel, right?
Okay. So why is the candidate talk to me when I want to share why I want to pick your brain. Why is the candidate experience so important for organizations? Like why do organizations put so much importance on it?
Mm-hmm. Well, because we're competing for talent, right? It's really like, Anna can work for one company A, or Anna can work for company B or C. I get to choose. I have a choice in the matter.
You have options.
If I have options, and so if a company representative, for example, as a talent acquisition professional, if I'm communicating, if I'm returning like within 48 hours of receipt of that application, I'm getting that information, I'm getting in contact with that candidate, making them feel valued, maybe sharing a little bit about our company, right? So that we can build that brand even more, and that desire for that candidate to be a part of this company's mission. I think that's super valuable. And then also throughout, like just explaining kind of what they can expect throughout, right? So, hey, even at the phone interview, I don't know what's going to happen next, right? It's not necessarily up to me. I'm a consultant to the hiring manager. But I will do my best in kind of highlighting and recommendation. So the thing is that for me, it's treating each candidate with mutual respect, respecting their time in the process, sharing about what they can expect. Some companies have assessments, and for certain roles that are very people-facing, like maybe mine, or like a sales leader role, like they have assessments where they're going to share that. You're going to want to share that is going to be a part of the process, right? You're going to want to share that there might be, 2 or 3 other touch points, whether they're virtual video or they're going to be in person. Just so having that constant communication is super key. There's nothing worse than being ghosted.
Yes. Okay. So I have a question for you, and I'm glad you brought ghosted up. Organizations now, they're getting overwhelmed. They're seeing 200-300 resumes per job posting, and we talk about the candidate experience and ghosting now. And how could you, as an internal recruiter, connect with? I mean, you can't communicate with 200-300 resumes. It's just the volume is just, you can't do it. So how do you provide a really positive candidate experience when you're getting multiple resumes? How do you do, or can you do that?
So I hear what you're saying. I think you can. I have, have things slip through the cracks for me when I've been extremely busy. And so I want to say I try not to let that happen. But with these applicant tracking systems now, there's tools that us as recruiters can use in order to aid us, right? Whether they're screening tools, whether you're ranking, the ranking systems. Personally, though, there's even with ranking systems, I do like to go in and check those candidates as well. So it's a sorting type of process. But for me, it's setting aside time to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do timely. And then with the candidates, I'd say that the other piece is you really want to make sure that when you're not able to communicate with a candidate, let's say I've gone through a phone screen interview with some candidates, maybe they don't meet the qualifications for that role. I'm declining them, right? I'm getting feedback from the leader. We're declining them as we go, right? There are going to be times where you're not going to be able to kind of get that feedback, whether it's, from the leader because of scheduling and stuff like that. So you're going to want to make sure that if for some reason that candidate is waiting, that you're sending them a message to say, I haven't forgotten about you, right? You're sending them a message, they're in the interview process, whether it was with myself or the leader. But from a resume screening standpoint, I tend to review candidates based off of ranking.
Okay.
And then I do go through kind of all the candidates, right? And ensure that, I've made a touch point, whether it's for that role or others.
Yeah.
Again, it's going to be based off of, workload, and it's going to be based off of kind of my time.
Okay.
But yeah, I try and do the best that I can with
Yeah.
the resources that I have.
Okay. Awesome. And it's impossible. I mean, if you get 200 to 300 resumes per job posting, it's really, I think it's impossible. You can do it. It would just take a lot of time to get in touch with everyone. So, one client that I was working with says, "Hey, Pino, listen, I can get in touch with everyone. However, the ones we do select for an interview, I do talk to them. We do a phone screen with them, and she in this case, she says I only contact the candidates that if they pass the phone screen, we'll bring them back for another interview. But the ones that she says to me, the ones that don't, I'll just let them know. If you don't pass this phone screen, if you don't hear from me, then that means we've moved on and you're not going to hear from me." So she communicates that on the phone screen, and that's how she closes the loop. She goes, I can't get in touch with everyone. It's just impossible. But I do let them know that if we're interested, we'll reach out to you. If you haven't heard from us in a week, that means you weren't selected.
There is also a burden management technique that some recruiters do use, where if you're screening every third candidate, as they're ranked. But again, there isn't one perfect way. Like you said, certain roles, Pino, are very desirable, and they're in high kind of impact areas like the Toronto, Ontario, or GTA market. But then there's the opposite. And so what I found was I was dealing with a lot of the opposite, where you're actually having to do your own sourcing and your own headhunting, right? And so a lot of times it doesn't work necessarily that way, where I was experiencing it the other way.
Okay. Awesome. Here's my thoughts when we talk about the candidate experience. I try my best to get in touch with everyone. I try my best to close that loop with everyone I speak with, for many reasons. I think it's important. I think just providing that feedback is really critical for the job seeker. It gives them some feedback on things that they can maybe improve on their next interview. Now, oftentimes we don't get feedback from the clients that we work with, but I do my best to get in touch with everyone and try and close that loop. I just think it's really, really important. And I just, everyone that I work with, I want them to have a positive experience working with me, right? So for me, it's important.
Again, like you said,
they're my principles and they're my values. It's really important to me. Now, do I drop the ball? Yes, I do. But I do encourage candidates, listen, if you haven't heard from me in this timeline, then I encourage you to reach back to me, because we have busy desks and our days get sidetracked often and regularly. So I tell them, listen, if you haven't heard from me in a few days, just reach out to me.
Exactly. And, it's super important for the candidate to also demonstrate their desire and willingness to kind of to reach out, right, for the role. Those are the candidates that I find are, really, for me, they make themselves stand out.
When they do what? Sorry, Anna?
When they reach out to me and really kind of demonstrate their desire for the position, because you're right, we do get a lot of people that are coming through our desks and that are really that we're having to deal with on a daily. So it is impactful when someone is reaching out to you via LinkedIn to share their desire for the role. To try and connect as well. It's like, look at the recommendations on their LinkedIn profile. Look at this, right? This, I didn't notice this on the resume, but it's there on LinkedIn. So it's just another touch point. And, the endorsements that they have as well.
And then let's talk about, I want to pick your brain on delivering bad news, rejection. When a candidate is not selected, having to call that candidate, say, listen, I'm sorry, you didn't get the job. Do you do that? How do you handle that? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's not the favorite part of the job, is it?
Yeah.
But it is necessary, and it needs, I try and advocate for the candidate. And getting that decline message out relatively quickly, right? Because they might have other roles that they're being considered for.
Yes.
they might so that they might need to focus on. And so it's really delivering that message. You know, as some companies that I've worked for in the past, right, they haven't really wanted to deliver like a specific message because of, you know, potential risk. And I get that. I've kind of worked around that where I've said, you know, you're high caliber talent, just not right now, not for this role.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of, you know, whether it's, you know, in some circumstances, I have had like 100 candidates per requisition, right? And, you know, you have one position, you have one person you're selecting. And so high competition rates, and you really needed to, like, you know, as far as, I can't go into specifics as far as what they had versus what you had, but what I can say is I want to stay connected. You've made an impact on me and the team. And it's definitely something that I do. And I try and always leave it positively. Because the thing is, and I truly believe this, like the experience that this person is having with us is going to make a difference on whether they're going to kind of utilize products or like really we are an extension of the company as talent acquisition professionals.
Oftentimes the recruiters are the first people that these people speak with, that the job seekers are speaking with, right? So you're facing, you know, you're facing the job seekers, and oftentimes you're the first person they're speaking with, they're engaging in conversation with. So it is critical to have that communication and be respectful of their time and delivering bad news. It speaks of the company and its cultures and their values. So I think it's important, you know, I think it's really, really important, you know. And when we talk about ghosting, you know, oftentimes I hear back from candidates, they say, you know, I never heard back from that organization. I had 4 or 5 interviews with them. They never heard back from them. It breaks my heart because these candidates are going out on their time. They're paying for parking. They're, you know, they're scheduling time to go meet with them. They're prepping for interviews. They're nervous. And then, you know, to call them, it takes 30 seconds to say, hey, sorry, listen, we didn't get the job, but you close that loop with respect and dignity. And it does go a long way. So
yes, I 100% agree. Like for me, you know, again, it comes down to mutual respect. It must be awful, right? It's an awful feeling to be ghosted. I've been ghosted before. We all have, right? And so, you know, it's a lack of, it shows a lack of interest. And, you know, maybe you think you've been ghosted, but they just haven't gotten back to you. And then you hear from them, you know, a month later because their process is so long, but you thought you were ghosted. That company might lose out on that candidate. They might not want to work with that company. So super important to be timely, to provide updates. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Is Anna talking with the hiring manager? Are there decisions that still need to be made? Is somebody on vacation? Like, I don't know as a candidate. All I know is that I'm not hearing back. And I assume it's a lack of interest.
I agree with you. That's an excellent point, right? Just keeping the lines of communication open up, just small touch points does definitely go a long way, right? So, like you said, there's candidates that go a month without hearing back from organizations. In my opinion, I don't think that should happen. But listen, it takes 30 seconds to pick up the phone and call someone, or a quick email. It doesn't take much time or much effort to do that, right? So,
totally.
So
the other piece that I just wanted to talk about here, and like I think it's super important. So there's a few trains of thought on offers, but like at offer, I'm a big believer in a talent acquisition professional kind of extending kind of external offers. Now, you know, in my mind, I feel like kind of, and I've kind of been, it's been explained to me this way, and I really resonate with this. It's kind of like having a real estate agent. Kind of, you know, representing the buyer and the seller. Kind of, they're more of that like kind of middle person. Where so like if negotiations are going to happen, you've kind of got that middle person. So the like candidate feels a little bit more comfortable, and so does the hiring manager. Absolutely want to bring the hiring manager in though to like and share the enthusiasm once the offer is accepted and stuff, right? I think it's super important. And then the other piece to that is just that hiring manager really needs to have touch points. Because, you know, I've experienced some start dates are super stretched out, right? where it's like, it might not be 2 weeks from that offer
Yeah.
acceptance. It might be
Yeah.
6 weeks or 8 weeks because
Yeah.
of a relocation or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there needs to be touch points in there so that we kind of like as a company are making that person feel continually welcomed to the company and like
Yeah.
supported.
Yeah. Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. So we both agree that the candidate experience is critical for in terms of the recruitment process. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Yeah.
And it sets apart the superb and exceptional companies
Yeah.
from those that are not.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. Anna, I think I'm gonna let you go. I didn't want to. I know you got to get going. I got to run as well too. But thanks for your time. If anyone's watching this video right now and they want to reach out to you, what's the best way to do that?
So on LinkedIn, 100%, I'm
Okay.
definitely there.
Yeah.
And then on my email
Yeah.
is probably the best way. I can share
Okay.
that with you if you'd like.
If you want to, stage is yours.
Anna
Go ahead.
Bryla at hotmail.ca. And so feel free to either connect with me via LinkedIn or via email.
Awesome. And you are on the market right now. You're looking for your next opportunity. So if anyone's looking for a TA, senior TA specialist, reach out to Anna.
All right. Well, thank you so much,
Awesome.
Pino, for having me on.
Likewise, have a great day and we'll stay in touch, okay?
All right. Thank
All right.
you.
Take care, Anna. Bye.